Hey everyone, welcome back to Wimpy Studio. And today I'm here with a brand new video for you guys. My friend Akshay and I are going to be talking about the movie Diaries for Dad from a Kid. We're going to be talking about the first one, and we each have different editions. But firstly, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me on.
So we almost weren't able to do this because your router went
Yeah,
out. We got a lot of snow. We got 8 inches actually.
yeah.
hmm
And
Um,
the weather down here, it's been very harsh, and we keep having these electricity outages. So, um, luckily, it came back just in time for this. So
yeah,
we're doing it now.
yeah, we're just gonna do it, and we are recording our one for the last chapter, which is at the long haul tomorrow, and that'll be out Thursday.
Right.
So this one is just for the single one, which I have, and you have the combined edition that talks some about two and three.
Yeah.
So first off, before we talk about specific facts, I think that they did what I really enjoy about this is that I think that when it comes to a movie, typically you don't know the behind the scenes of it, and I think that it's tough to make a movie, and they proved that in here. And I'll just read the back cover really quick. If you've ever wondered how a movie gets made, you're not alone. Author and illustrator Jeff Kinney did not know either. But when his best-selling series Deborah McKay was turned into a live-action movie by 20th Century Fox, he learned how a book gets adapted into a major motion picture, complete with photographs, script pages, storyboard sketches, costume designs, and original art by Jeff Kinney. The One Became Movie Diary is the perfect companion to the best-selling series. So it's pretty much just that. It tells you like a lot of like behind the scenes stuff about how certain scenes were filmed. For instance, there it talked about what I liked about it. I liked how they brought the actors who played Greg and Rowley, which were, if I am correct, Zachary Gordon and Robert Capron, I think. And they do a like a test to see if the actors have chemistry, and they end up having it, and actually that they have good in the movie. So I thought that that was interesting to have them have that like test to see if there's chemistry, because if there's not chemistry, it's obviously not going to be a good movie because they're in a lot of scenes together. Did you like that?
Yeah, I mean, I found that interesting in the first movie, and I would say it's actually what kind of sparked the whole movie to actually come together. Because if that wasn't the case, we could have not even seen a movie because it would have taken too long to find another pair of people.
Yeah,
So
and like
it could have almost never happened.
yeah, and luckily they had that thing, and like it went really good, and like they had like them recording, and I think that they both did a really good job of fulfilling what we think Greg and Rally would have been before
Yeah,
this. Now of course we both started reading this after the movies, all three of the movies came out, pretty much. um
yeah.
but still, I think it's cool to see like just the behind the scenes of the movie. In this movie, I thought it was really well done. I think that they're all well done, but this movie in particular, they showed
Yeah.
us a good amount of stuff, and I think that they did a really good job. I mean, a lot of scenes, like when you're making like a school movie, you can classify it as a school movie. There's things like a school play, and they did a really good job with that. But then they also have like the actors. They have like a really good bond in real life. So like they went out for a bowling night to get to know each other. So like I think that what they really did good with in telling us that is that the actors were really good friends behind the scenes, and they grew to be a family. And that's what's tough when you're like leaving, for instance. But another thing I found interesting is the cheese. I was interested to see how they would portray the cheese in this film. It's just digital. It's not like they did like a test and they put cheese out, like real cheese, and see. And there's like, let me find the pictures somewhere in here where it actually does show. Okay, so there's like different stages of the cheese. Stage one, the silicone blank for the cheese. The digital aging effects were painted on this model. Stage two, the cheese as it looked on the first day of school. Stage three, after a few months, the cheese gets a little moldier and nastier. And stage four, the cheese looks good enough to eat. I thought it was interesting to see like the stages of that and how they even like did it in the first place. I think it's gross, but I thought that like you're not gonna like do that for like the real thing. But like I thought it was cool that they even like did it for fun. So like and like I don't know, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty cool touch to actually see how the cheese was made, and not just us thinking, "Ooh, how did they even do that?" Now we actually know that it wasn't like too gross; they were just like exchanging it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, so the schools that were used, they had three schools that were used to make the film: Shaughnessy Elementary School, Van Tech Secondary School, and Templeton Secondary School. Shaughnessy was used for its exterior and outdoor basketball courts. Van Tech was used for its gym, and Templeton Secondary was used for its hallways, classrooms, and auditorium. And then they're all combined together to make one place, Westmore Middle School. And like this is probably not, it's not always. Um, some of them are able to use one high school, but it typically seems like in movies they have to use multiple high schools because there's different features. Like you can't have like one school that's like perfect all the way through. So it makes sense that they would use like different schools to combine it because I think every school has its own feature. Um, but there's even like first of all, the actors do have to do school too. They just like do like school separate, so like they don't get out of school or anything. Even though
Yeah.
this is pretty much school acting in the film, except it's more enjoyable by the end. Um, and like they really they make it seem like it's like a real school based on like all the, like the newspapers they write. They really put it down to the last detail, and I like that about it. They didn't really waste any details when it came to making this fictional school, and I think that they did a really good job with it. So we have a few page to screens. Um, so we have Rally with his cast. We have the wrestling team and Fregley beating up Greg on the wrestling thing. And Fregley is he was awesome in this film, honestly. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah. No, yeah, you can keep going. Yeah.
Okay. One thing I found interesting in this is that there are a lot of stunt doubles. For instance, when Rowley uh broke his arm after falling off the big wheel, it was a stunt double, which I think makes sense in these type of scenarios. They use someone who's trained, and then also they film the Halloween scenes in the morning, which I thought was interesting. So like you would think they would film it at dark, but the entire house it was covered in black cloth. Um, and like sometimes they have to like use like lighting and stuff like that to make it seem like it's that time of day because you want it to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because otherwise, if they didn't do that, we would start thinking it was during the day, and then when the actual plot comes into play, it would be really confusing to the viewer.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, from the movie in the book, when Mr. Heffley dumps the water on the kids and he had it with Greg and Rowley on it, that was only one take, which I think is good in that sense because you wouldn't want water dumped on you more than once. So yeah, that was just one take. Eventually you just have to move in for indoor shooting, which makes sense. So they moved in there, and I'm trying to think if there's anything interesting. They use like box sets, so like there's like different box numbers for different materials, like a bike, for instance, and like some video game gadgets and like yearbooks. Um, I think it just shows that they really did a good job with making this movie. One last thing I want to say until you share yours. The questionnaires, like I think that I always find it interesting, like being like a screener and stuff like that. I wish I was. But for these type of things, I think it's important. And of course, they were gonna give this movie a high rating. I think that they did a really good job with doing it. Great actors, great movie, and they did a really good job with this single movie diary. I found everything interesting and how they made this film, and I think it was pretty similar to the book, honestly. I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, and before I get into what my facts about the thing that I liked, I would just like to agree with Micah because everything, like, I didn't know before I read this book. I didn't know half of the stuff that they did to make these movies, and I didn't even know about any of the props, and most of it was new information to me. And I was actually very intrigued by it at first when I read it, and it's been very interesting to see how movies were made.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like the main point of this book, and Jeff Kinney succeeded with making his book because we really learned how the movie was made, and maybe if we have the budget, we could make our own movie. We don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I get
But
what you're saying.
yeah, so let's just get into what my facts were. So my first fact was that Fregly's room. So if you guys don't know, Fregly is the weird character in the Diary from Wicked series. So Fregly's room in the book, in the movie, was a completely different set than the rest of the set. So they actually went to a completely different house and built that house into a set, and then that made that into Fregly's room. And I thought that was interesting because Fregly's room didn't even show up much in the movie. It probably only showed up for like a scene or two. But they actually went to a whole new place, and set up and actually transformed like an actual living area into a set. So I found that actually pretty interesting. Let's see. Then the next thing I liked was that, and I found this interesting. The cafeteria in the school was actually just a block, and sometimes most of the time it was just like a moving wallpaper, and it wasn't actually an actual room. But there was a room dedicated to the cafeteria. But when not much action was happening, they didn't even use it. They just had people. They just had the main character sitting, on the table, and then they just had most of it just wallpaper around. And but the editing enhanced it to make it actually look like like actual cafeteria. So, what do you think by that?
I think that that was a really cool visual to add. Even small things like that. I mean, they have to they really bring it down to the last detail. And like for that specific thing, when it comes to like the cafeteria scene, I don't think much of it, but I think that they did a good job with putting that set together and like making it seem like even though it was just like film, blocks and stuff like that. So yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, and I couldn't even tell. I couldn't even tell that it was a wallpaper until I actually went and read the book, this movie diary book. Let's see. A few other things I liked in this were that Michael earlier was talking about the stunt doubles, and like the stunt double. One of the scenarios where Greg and Rowley, like Greg broke Rowley's arm with the football. That scenario, when they were filming that, uh the person on the motorbike was not actually Robert, which was Bradley's actor. It was actually a stunt double, and a trained professional that went and just on. He obviously he's trained, so he just went and he performed the scene. And another thing I liked or found interesting was that all the ice in the movie were just plastic, so they weren't actual ice. So because obviously if they were filming it with actual ice, it would have melted while they were filming. So they would just most of it was just water with just plastic cubes in it, or like some other thing they would need ice for, like if there was snowing or raining. It was just a bunch of plastic falling. So and I think it wasn't like too clear how they did snowing, but I'm pretty sure it was just like some white kind of paper. But but the editing, and I'm not sure if it was the editing that enhanced it to look real, or if that the prop in the first place actually looked so real. But I didn't even tell. I thought it was real life until I actually read this book. Well, I mean, I actually wanted to know what you thought about that.
I think that the stunt double idea is interesting. I mean, like I think you need professional people who are able to land without getting hurt. You need professional people for like these type of scenes. I think it's just interesting how they made how they like got these people and how interesting like to see like what they got as like what their reward or whatever. But like that's like a lot to be in that scenario and to be able to, although you never know what can happen, and like you're acting like a different character too, so you're like not that character. So it's like interesting. I would be interested to hear from those stunt doubles to see what their experience was and just to see how they liked filming those scenes.
Yeah, but I mean, as I was saying, that they are trained professionals, so it should have not been that difficult for them.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't notice that at all. Like, I don't know how I didn't notice that actually. It's probably that they were wearing something on their face, that the camera angle was different or something. But I did not notice it was a stunt double at all until I read the book. And I think that's actually a good thing because it keeps the actors safe and doesn't put them in risky scenarios. And obviously, and it won't hurt the stunt double either because the stunt double was trained. So many factors have to come into play to film these risky shots, but in the end, it all worked out, and we got to see it in the movie.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, and what did you think about the plastic cubes for ice thing?
I think that you have to do that kind of thing. Ice cubes are obviously
Yeah.
going to melt. So, like, I think plastic cubes, I personally think I've actually had some before. I think that they're interesting. They're interesting because, like, they're actually, like, really cool. I mean, of course, they don't keep it whole on, obviously, but, like, there actually is a thing out there that, like, just, like, colored cubes. But, like, plastic cubes, I think it was an interesting idea. The only way I think that they could do it because, I mean, those scenes take a long time to film. Ice only stays, like, in your cup for, like, a certain amount of time. So, like, you have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it wouldn't look natural. I mean, either way, it won't look natural. But again, like we don't when we're watching the movie, we don't think about those things.
Mhm.
Like when we like, if you guys watch this movie, would you actually go and think, "Hey, why did the ice never reduce in shape when it was in that
Yeah.
cup while these things are happening?" You would never think that. So this would just keep the scene more realistic, but it's not fully natural.
Mm.
Um, I'll see what else I have to add on here. Oh yeah. Each actor, like in the main role, were actually got assigned their own trailer with like like their own TV, and they got driven everywhere and they got everything. And they actually had like sofas and cushions. It was basically a mini apartment in there.
Hmm.
So I mean, I would love to be the actor who just like go everywhere. What do you think about that?
That was interesting. That was interesting because I think that everyone like they deserve their own trailer to live in. They might as well, and they might as well be gifted to them because they're going to be all over the place. I also thought it was funny how like people the Bush got like a very 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 small trailer, and like the lead uh their leads like Zach and Robert, of course, got the bigger ones. But I like how they had their own space to be to like do what they want, stuff like that.
Yeah, and like the extras, if you don't know what extras are, they're basically all the people that are in the background of a scene. Like for example, if there's a school scene where Greg and Rowley are just like whispering something to each other, all those people like walking in the background that makes it a natural environment. Those are the extras. So when the extras sign up to film, they come to wherever the studio is to film, and obviously they won't get their own trailers because they're not even a lead role. So they just have to stuff themselves anywhere, like in a closet, in a bathroom or somewhere, and they just have to figure it out because they weren't really given any treatment um until they were actually in the scene. But even when they were in the scene, they were just told what to do. They were never actually like given treatment and like given welcoming and stuff like that. So that was just one thing to keep in mind. If you wanted to be an extra, you're not going to get anything that the lead roles get.
Hmm.
Um, Also, another thing I liked was this. So when they painted the school's name, they said that well, if it looked freshly painted, that wouldn't look too realistic. So they actually went and broke off. Freshly painted it. Then they went back and broke off some of the paint so it would look old. And again, as you were saying, attention to detail. That's really been shown here. And what do you have to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think that the fact that they would even do that to make it look older is really interesting because no one's going to pick up on that. But like, of course, like you can't have it look brand new. It's always going to have to look old somehow. So I really like that they paid that attention to detail.
Yeah, and I just have to agree with Micah that attention to detail was something that was really focused on heavily in this book.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they've had many sports teams and the newspapers too, and everything had to be designed carefully by a design team. So many stuff took place while we were reading this book and learning how the movie was made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more thing. They use like I think that it's pretty obvious that I think most people know what green screens are. They put it in the backdrop of like a movie and like they cover it up with like anything pretty much. They can do that in editing things. Here they use blue screens, which I thought was interesting. which I guess I mean they're probably just like I don't know why they chose to do like a blue screen, but I think that those screens I think are really cool. Like my dad has one where you can like put like any backdrop in to replace it with. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah, so most people know what a green screen is, but I'll explain it anyway. So basically, it's just a screen. You put it behind you, or put it behind somewhere, and then whatever is in front of it will retain. But you can replace the color of that green screen with whatever backdrop, move video, picture, whatever. So many big content creators use it for to give more effect. And the fact that they use a blue screen, it really doesn't make any difference because in the end, when you go to your editing software, you just use hex code for that blue color rather than the green color, and then it just works the same way. So it's not like it's gonna add any effect or do something different than a green screen. It's just called a green screen most of the time because that's the most common color for the screen.
Hmm.
So, and I think they chose green because people wear green clothes the least. Which I read about that somewhere. I mean, I don't know. You're wearing a green shirt right now, so I'm not sure how
Yeah,
that works.
yeah, I don't know.
But
Yeah,
green is just the most common used color, so that's why they chose it.
yeah, hmm yeah, that makes sense. Um,
Do you have anything else to add?
no, I don't think there's actually anything else to say.
Mm.
I just think that I really like this book. I think that they did a really good job with making it and showing like those attention to details again. I think they did a really good job, and I think they really came out with a good movie. Tomorrow, Thursday, we will be releasing a one talking about the last chapter, which is the Devil Make It the Long Haul Movie Diaries. So you can find Akshay at Real Time Fun on YouTube, and I'll put that in the link below. So, anyways, I'm gonna thank on Forward Studio. Like, comment, subscribe, turn your on your post notifications so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and bye.
Bye.